Okay, so this is a demo on the knife, the bone folder, and using glue. And I've talked about how I prefer to use these type of knives because they have more of an edge. The blade itself has more surface to go against the straight edge that you might have. And ideally you would have a straight edge that is much thicker than this, so that you can really go against it easily and not risk getting cut. But metal is always better than plastic. And then the other tool we're going to use is a bone folder, which is a bone, I believe, from probably a cow, for scoring. Okay? So my knife is almost at the end of its life here, but the way you sharpen it is you snap the little blade, the little section off like this. Let me just focus a little bit, zoom in. So there's little grooves pre-cut, and you just snap it off like that. Okay? I'm going to now completely change the blade because that's too short. So x-acto, the brand, does make this type of knife as well, and you can get it at the bookstore. So I'll show you how to score using the bone folder, but let me just show you first for the box. But let me show you how to do a score for the cube eventually when you make the cube. Okay. By the way, you should be cutting on not on the tables, but on a cutting mat, or maybe a piece of chipboard, which is the same stuff as the back of your writing pads. Okay. So if you have your shape in your cube, you're going to need to know which way it's going to fold, okay? So if it's going to fold down, you're going to score from the top. If it's going to, or rather up, fold up. If it's going to fold down, then you have to score from the other side, okay? So in this case, I'm just going to say that this is going to fold this way. And what you do is you just cut really lightly on exactly where the line is, okay? So, and you can kind of hear it, it's almost like a scratching sound, scraping sound, and you just go ideally halfway down the board. I know it's difficult because it's thin, but you can try. Ideally, you want to always cut protecting the part that you're actually going to use with your ruler, in case you make a mistake, and in case you make and you move away from it, at least you're not mucking up the good side, okay? So that's it. So now that's the scoring. Now I'm just going to cut. And I'm going to cut through so that I get really nice, clean corners. So rather than trying to go exactly from like the beginning to the end like that, no, I'm going to go right through at both ends. Okay, and here no, let me just do it right. In your triangles, when you do your triangles, you probably want to, I'm going to actually cut it more tapered here, because once you have like lots of little triangles meeting together in a single point, they will start sort of butting against each other, and to avoid that, you just taper it more, just like I'm doing that now. What I should do now is actually erase the pencil, because it's a lot easier to erase it once it's flat, when it's flat, than to try to erase it later, okay? And I do that because I don't want to see the pencil in the final. Okay, so now you would just fold it just like that. Okay, and that's your fold, and you can see that I didn't. Actually, I don't know if you can see it, but I didn't score it too well on one side, or maybe that's going against the grain. I'm not sure, but because I went a little deeper here, it's a little better. This is the best cut. That's pretty nice. Okay, so that's scoring with the knife. Now, for the box, we'll use the bone folder. Okay, and what I do is I always do the folds first. Okay, so I'll just decide what are the parts that I need to score, and essentially just all the parts that don't get cut. You can also go all the way across in these folds whenever possible. I'm not going to do it here because I would be mucking up my lid here, right here. Okay, so I'm going to stop there. But on this side, all these parts get folded, so I don't care too much, and I just do it all the way. Okay. I'm going to do it all the way here, and I'm leaving a little room. I'm going to zoom in again. You won't see this in the video, but so I'm moving my ruler a little bit away from the line because I have to account for the thickness of the bone folder, which is probably like a 1/16 of an inch, so that when I score, I really hit that line in the middle and not on the side of it. There is no way getting around the fact that paper has a thickness, and so you have to, in absence of totally calculating what that would be, you just have to try to be as precise as possible and hope that, it kind of comes together, because it is a little bit plastic and elastic. There is room for adjustment later. Okay, so now let me score the other side. So that's one long score. And again, I'm stopping there because the other part has a straight cut and I want to mock that up. But here it's one long shot. Okay, so those are all the scores. Oh, one more here. And here again, I'm going to go all the way across. So now I'm going to do all the cuts. So with the cuts, you really want to be right on. Again, use a metal ruler, because otherwise the knife may jump on the plastic ruler and you might get cut. So again, I'm cutting right through, except of course here where I have to stop. Some of the flaps you want to taper a little bit because it's going to be easier to, just like in a cardboard box, right? Okay. I'm going to try to do this quickly without injuring myself. So at the bottom of the box, I made two flaps which are going to join perfectly. They're going to meet perfectly. And I made two other flaps which are tapered and are a little bit shorter because I don't care, that's on the inside. Right? So if you look at the template, this and this are a little shorter than this, and also tapered, but this is straight and longer. Tapered too much there. What I was saying earlier about cutting is that I put my ruler on top of this part because I want to save that, so that if I make a mistake here and I go like that, whoops, I'm not messing up the good thing, right? The good shape. So there's like room to recover, so to speak. almost there. Now, if you notice, when I try to cut this very close corner there, tight corner, what I'll do is I'll go back in and make another cut the other way, just a tiny one, so that I get a really clean separation, and also leave a little room. If you notice in like templates for boxes, like cereal boxes, they're never quite exactly to the edge, to the corners. There's always some thickness that's left. Okay, so that the thickness of the board can kind of fit in and make a nice fit. So that's what I'm doing now. I'm going back into these corners and just cutting them a little bit so that they separate without having to rip the paper. This would be done with what's normally called a die. These would be like blades. They're sticking out of a board, and they would have sharp blades and blunt blades for the folds, for the scoring, and there would be foam next to the blades. They would kick back and make the piece of paper separate for the next one, so it doesn't get stuck in between the blades. Okay, I think I've gotten, okay, oops. So now that I have my template, I just fold it. Now, there's various ways. If you want to be really nice, really good, you can place the straight edge on top of your paper, and then with the bone folder, you go like this against it. Okay, that's like fancy. Okay, otherwise you can just do it with your fingers. I'm just going to skip that now, but just keep in mind that that's a good way. Now, the outside of my box is going to be messy because I recycled a piece of paper that had some lines. You can make these creases really sharp. You can use the bone folder for that, although a warning that if it's something that you really care about, if you do this, it's going to make the paper shiny. And so a trick would be to cover it before you actually go over it with the bone folder. Okay, so you would go like this, and then you would press it down, and that way this gets shiny, but not your model. Okay, so if you're making a model, for example, again, I'm going to skip that step. So once you have it nicely bent, you know, all the way so that they can really fold properly, you can test it to see if it's correct. Let's see, because it may not be right. Okay, it's good. Yeah. So once again, the bottom, the two flaps that I cut a little shorter are going to be on the inside because I'm not going to see them. And the ones that are supposedly, see I'm off a little bit, they should close the gap there. And then the top is just two flaps plus the closing flap, this one. Okay, so now let me just show you how I do the gluing. So instead of using the glue container right on the flaps, which is probably faster and maybe for you less messy, but I don't like that at all because I have no control with this spout thing. So what I like to do is just put some glue on a piece of paper. That. And then, let's see, which one should I do first? I'm going to do the bottom. Okay, I'm I'm going to do it on the actual smaller flap. So anyway, I use my finger and I just do that, go like this, and I try to spread it evenly. If you use your fingers, what you want to do is really clean them, and it's good to have a little rag to quickly wipe it off. Oops, I need to do another one. Too early. Just do them both. If you don't have a rag, just quickly clean your finger on the same piece of scrap paper. Okay. So now you just glue it. And I see that if I do this now, my other flap is also gonna be hard to reach. So I'm just gonna put the glue on that one as well. At the same time, you have a few, probably like 30 seconds before it starts to actually dry. So, kind of doing these all at the same time, which is not ideal, but okay. And then you can just use your clean fingers to like wipe it off. Then use your rag. And in terms of precision, I try to line up my the main lines in the cube. So in this case, I'm trying to line these up. If it's not quite precise, I can pull or push this way to get it right. And now my glue at the bottom is almost dried. Oops. What I can do is go like this, push it down a little bit so I get some contact, then move it. So you see, because I cut it so precisely, it's not quite meeting in the middle here. I have to push a little bit, almost. The bond folder is useful to get inside things. So now I can, just use it to tap the bottom like that. And usually to get the corners, which are the hardest part to reach, right? Okay. Pretty good. So, that's it. One last little trick. Okay, there we go. Done. One last little trick is that, say you wanna put glue on this flap right here of this triangle, and you want to be really precise, is that you can mask the flap with two pieces of paper, like this. You put one at the bottom and one on the top, exactly where you want to mask the part that you want the glue to be on. And then again with the finger, you can just go all over the place. What's nice now is you can be really messy, but you can get it really even because you're not worrying about where it's going, and then you just have to be careful when you remove the masking material that you don't get any glue on any other part. A trick is sometimes to quickly fold back what you used as masking so the glue gets trapped in between. And now I have that nice nice flap there, and I can glue it to this other thing, even though it's not meant to be. Okay. So, yeah. So I prefer using my finger. You could use a little piece of paper and do this, but sometimes it's okay if you have to get into really tiny spots. But otherwise, the best thing is, I think, your finger, because you can really feel it. Okay. So that's the knife. Bone folder.